Delighted to say we finally got Dawn Butler on the line to talk about gender pay gap. Dawn Butler is a Labour MP for Brent Central. She's, of course, also the Shadow Women's and Equalities Minister and joins us now. Good morning to you, Dawn.
Hi, good morning.
You're going to give women a bad name being late to the show, you know.
Oh, me, I'm never late.
You won't get a pay rise for turning up late. Rightio. Now, okay, today, midnight tonight, is the deadline for private companies with more than 250 staff to state the average differences in pay between male and female employees. It's ranked, to be fair. They've got different quartiles, so the top four, the bottom four, the middle two fours, separate data. But so far, the data's already been published by a company. 78% pay men more than women, while 13% pay women more. You must be outraged by those companies that are discriminating against men by paying women more.
It's not about being outraged, to be honest with you. It's just about being fair and whether organisations have fair systems in place, whether they are promoting people on their skills and their merits rather than, their chums or because like recruits like. And I think that it's not enough just to establish that there's a pay gap, because it's not going to come as a surprise to anybody, but it's what's going to be done in order to close that pay gap. Those are the things that we have to work on.
Well, absolutely. If there is a man and a woman, they're sitting next to each other, the same age, same experience, doing the same job, and what the man or the woman is earning more than the other for no reason that we can identify other than a boss thought they'd pay them more, then that's clearly wrong. And I would probably argue the person who went to a tribunal about that would probably lose and it would probably be ruled illegal. However, an awful lot of the comparisons that are being made are between very senior people and very junior people, highly skilled professionals and people doing menial labour. And completely different jobs. So someone being a banker and someone being a secretary. Are we in danger of not comparing like with like and actually sending out a message that this is a terribly awful, awful world, when actually the vast majority of those pay gap differences can be accounted for by age, experience and different jobs?
Well, that's the thing. It can't really, but that's the problem with the
data.
But
it can. The Institute of Fiscal Studies has just issued a report saying that.
Yeah. But that's the problem with the data, and that's the problem with structural biases. So what we're saying in the Labour Party is, OK, let's audit it. Let's establish where there's a gender pay gap. And there's lots of organisations that, it has come as a surprise to them, and they're reviewing what they're doing. But let's have an action plan. So companies need to then develop an action plan to what they're going to do to close that gender pay gap. And sometimes there will be a gender pay gap, but it's whether it's based on bias and discrimination or whether it's based on, the fact that, there are more senior people in one role than the other. But if you take airlines, for example, lots of airlines, the pilots are male. But is it that women don't want to be pilots, or is it that they're not given the opportunity?
Well, in what way are women not given the opportunity? I mean, are there job applications that only go in, say, targeted at men, and they say no women should apply? Well, what is stopping any woman applying to be an airline pilot?
Well, there are selection biases, and there are selection biases in many jobs. And you go for a job, and they say, "Well, that's not the job for you," or they ask questions of women that they wouldn't ask of men. So always,
like what? If they're asking questions about them having babies or not, that's illegal.
Yeah, but there was a court case just the other day. But these things happen, really, and that's the thing. So what we're saying is, audit the gender pay gap, have an action plan to close the gender pay gap. If you don't do that, there are sanctions. If you do that, and if you do have a good action plan in place, then there will be certification and rewards for organisations that do that, so they will have access to government contracts. And we move the emphasis from the employee having to prove that they're being paid unfairly to the employer.
Okay. Can I just ask you, before you got involved in politics, you were an officer of the GMB union, including being a national race and equality officer. Why did you go into that instead of banking? You could have earned a lot more. Was someone stopping you going into banking? Why didn't you become a doctor? Why didn't you become an engineer? Why didn't you become an astronaut? Why did you choose that?
Well, again, this is also, it's because it's what I wanted to do.
Whoa. Let's stop it there. It was what you wanted to do.
But let me explain why. Because I was actually a computer programmer, which is a male-dominated environment, and I was sexually harassed almost every day for 5 years, and I found that there was nowhere for me to go, that nobody was taking my complaints seriously. So I left that employment and worked for the trade union in the end, because the trade union protects people at work, and that's why I started to work in a trade union. So if I was a part of an organisation that was mainly men that discriminated against me, that's another barrier to women getting involved in industries where they're not the norm.
All right, Don, I'll take you on that. I must ask you, while you're here on the line, about the row that is dominating the coverage of your party at the current time, and this row over anti-Semitism. You're not just shadow women's spokesperson, you're also shadow equalities overall, including religions, obviously. Do you think it was a good idea, a wise judgment call of Jeremy Corbyn to attend that Jewdas event for Passover?
Jeremy attended an event, a Jewish event, was invited to by his Jewish constituents.
I know the facts. I'm asking you if it was a good idea.
I think that's perfectly legitimate for Jeremy to do that.
I didn't ask you if it was legitimate. I asked you if it was a good idea.
The issue is this: there are problems in the Labour Party with some people, and they have to be rooted out. But what I would really like is for journalists with that forensic investigation that you're doing in the Labour Party, do it in all parties. Be fair in your coverage, be fair in your scrutiny, so that we can root out anti-Semitism, racism, misogynistic, homophobic. We can root it all out once and for all. So don't just do it for one, do it for all.
Okay, well, if you want to root it out once and for all, why are you suspending party members, not getting rid of them? Dawn, I'm going to ask you the question. I'm going to ask you the question again. Was it a good idea for Jeremy Corbyn to attend that event? Yes or no?
Yes, it was perfectly legitimate. Why didn't he? It's his constituents. Of course, it's why are you the person that are deciding who's a good Jew and who's a bad Jew?
I have absolutely no opinion on whether someone is a good Jew or a bad Jew. Dawn, when the campaign against anti-Semitism and the Board of Deputies of British Jews say that attending that event was effectively putting, in the words of the campaign against anti-Semitism, putting two fingers up to the Jewish people, Jewish community in this country, do you think it was a good idea for Jeremy Corbyn to attend?
Jeremy would never, ever, ever do that. He is a staunch anti-racism. He fights it every day of his life, and that's why he came into politics. He wouldn't want to offend anybody.
But he did.
He wouldn't want to offend, and he wouldn't want to offend.
But he did, and he knew it would.
Person. He has written to the Board of Deputies of the Jews, and they will be meeting. So what we don't need is people goating unnecessarily and trying to create a narrative around this. What we need to do is work together to root out anti-Semitism, to root out racism in all its forms in society. And as a journalist, as a radio host, you play a vital part in that. And I just really wish that people would be more responsible
we're being perfectly responsible, Dawn. Can I ask you, Dawn, that if there were accusations about the racism against black people in the Labour Party that were ongoing, and there was a particular black group that was saying, this is all a media smear, it's all a conspiracy, and this particular black organisation was saying, no, this is all rubbish, it's all nonsense, it's all cooked up. If Jeremy Corbyn went and met with them on the same day that he'd said, yes, we need to root out the problem of racism against black people, would you be happy?
Where there are problems, we have to address them.
Why can't you answer my question?
And we have to eliminate them.
Would you be happy for Jeremy Corbyn to meet with a black group who said that racism against blacks was all people's minds?
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to ensure that we make society better. I'm not really interested in scoring cheap political points.
Neither am I.
Trying to feed into a narrative. What I want to do is make sure those people who are racist, those people who are anti-Semitic are rooted out of the Labour Party. That's what I want, and that's what we're doing. We've got a new General Secretary, and she's going to implement, as one of her first duties, the Sami Chakrabarti report in full, which hasn't been done. There are issues that we're sorting out in the Labour Party, and we need to sort it out, and we need to get our house in order, because we are the biggest membership organisation in Europe, and we have to get this right, because we set ourselves very high standards. And that's what we are determined
It'd be nice if all of your party members were sticking to them. There we are. Dawn Butler, thank you very much. Glad we finally got you on the line. Very much appreciate you joining us, Labour MP for Brent Central, also the Shadow Women and Equalities spokeswoman.